Find the exact or approximate median from each data display. I'm going to work with you on number 2. Here we have the amounts. There's about 4 in this one and this one. There's probably 1 here. This appears to be about 8 on the frequency. This one looks to be about 6 or 7. Here we're lined up pretty close with 30. This one is at approximately 35. And this one has a frequency of about 10. So to find the median, we need to be in the middle. Let's total up all of these to figure out how many there are altogether. 4 plus 8 is 12. 12 plus 30 is 42. 42 plus 35 makes 77. Plus 10 would be 87. Plus 7 would make 94. Plus 1 is 95. Plus 4 makes 99. So if we were to cut this in half to find the median or the middle, we would be looking for about 50 on each side. 49 and a half, about 50 on each side. So let's see here. 4 plus 8 is 12, plus 30 makes 42. So we're going to fall somewhere in this bar, which would put our median around 0.4 or 0.5. So we can write that our median is in the interval of 0.4 to less than 0.5, because remember, if it is 0.5, it goes into the next bar. For number 1, you should be able to find the exact median by crossing off dots from each side. You can find the approximate or exact median here on problem 3 and 4 as well. Your work today or your job today is to create a poster that includes the following information: your statistical question, your method for collecting a data set, which may be a survey, or you may get data from the office on attendance, and so on. You may search up data from a weather website. You are describing your method for collecting data. Then you need to include your data set and the number of observations in that data set, meaning how many pieces of data did you collect, a display for your data, and an explanation of why you chose that type of data display. Remember, your options are dot plots, histograms, or we've also worked with box plots. An analysis of the data distribution, including the following information: the shape. Remember, we've talked about 2 different types of shapes: skewed shapes, which would be left or right, or symmetric. The measure of center and spread you chose, along with an explanation of why you chose them. If you choose the mean, you could use range as your measurement for spread. If you choose the median as your center, you could use IQR for spread. You need to include the center and the spread. And other features such as outliers, those are the ones that we talked about being outcasts, off in the distance by themselves. Peaks, like in a dot plot when there's multiple of the same value and they get stacked really high. Gaps, Clusters are big groups of data, and range, along with a description of what each feature tells you about the data distribution. And then you are going to answer your statistical question. Remember, back on page 265 in your workbook from lesson 17, we had a question bank of statistical questions that you might choose from, and you can use those as a guide to help you build your project for the lesson we're working on today. Here's an example of a completed project for this lesson. You can see they've written down what their statistical question was. They are examining the number of pets their classmates have. They've written down how they collected their data, which they used a survey and asked their peers. They've included all of the values in the data set. So some students had 0 pets, some students had 1 pet, 2 pets, 3 pets, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 25. Maybe this person's counting fish or chickens, for a total of 27 observations. If you were doing a class survey, in my class, our class sizes are not 27, so it would be however many students are in your class. Then the data display. They chose to use a box plot, and they've given their reasoning because it shows the median, which answers our statistical question, which would be, what is the typical? They've said that it is skewed to the right. You can see this long line off to the right. The measure of center that they chose was the median, and the spread that they chose was the interquartile range. Then they have both found the median and the spread for the interquartile range. They've described 25 as an outlier because it's off all by itself, far away from the rest of the data. There is a peak at 1 because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the students that had 1 pet. Gaps. There's a gap between 8 and 25, and it tells them about the large space between the observations. They've described the range. 25 minus 0 gives them a range of 25, and they've answered their statistical question. Originally, they were wondering, what is the typical number of pets our classmates have? And they used the median, and they said the typical number of pets our classmates have is 2, which came from their center, which they claim is the median. So your job is to pick a statistical question to examine today and create a display that looks similar to this, including all of those features outlined in your workbook. Once you have completed your statistical project, you can examine these questions regarding the work of your peers. What do you notice about their work? What do you wonder? What steps did that group take, and how do you know? How did they display their data? And where do you see that in their work? What difference does the data display make in this work? And how are summary measures helpful in answering their statistical question? And once you have completed that project and examined some of your peers, that will take you to the end of Module 6.